上海合作组织元首理事会第25次会议9月1日在天津举行。今年的会议规模空前，吸引超过20位非西方国家领导人出席。目前上合组织涵盖26个国家与地区，含成员国、观察员与对话伙伴，在50多个领域展开合作，经济总量接近30兆美元，约占全球 GDP 的1/4，是覆盖全球面积最广、人口最多的综合性区域合作组织。对许多西方观察家来说，这个曾被视为不痛不痒的组织，正在逐渐成长为一股无法忽视的力量。受邀出席的联合国秘书长安东尼奥·古特雷斯在会中强调，上合组织对建构多极世界来说至关重要。这番话被解读为对美国的一次明确提醒，当华府仍沉浸在关税政策与单边主义的自信氛围时，另一个国际舞台已经悄然搭建起来。国际学者普遍认为，在全球贸易保护主义抬头的背景下，上合组织内部经贸往来显得愈发重要。在所有镜头之中，最具戏剧性的画面来自印度总理莫迪与俄罗斯总统普丁的互动。普丁称呼莫迪为亲爱的朋友，莫迪满脸笑意，牵着他的手走向轮值主席中国国家主席习近平，三人同框的画面迅速成为国际媒体焦点。值得玩味的是，就在1周前，莫迪才被爆出拒接川普的电话。如今的场景无疑展现出另一个外交朋友圈的可能性，也让西方世界不得不重新思考，这个曾经被低估的组织虽未立即形成直接挑战，但正逐步成为全球地缘政治版图中的新支点。
China has laid out its vision for the world at a summit at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which has just wrapped up in Tianjin. Now, President Xi Jinping made an appeal for what he calls true multilateralism and vowed to oppose Cold War thinking and bullying. It's a vision at odds with the one championed by the United States and its Western allies, and an ill-concealed swipe at how Xi sees the way they run the world. China used the gathering to present itself as a reliable and realistic counterweight to the U.S. and to challenge Western-led alliances such as NATO and the G7. Now, leaders from 20 countries, including Russia, India, and Iran, were in attendance. Some Western observers are calling this the axis of upheaval.
Holding hands, Russia's Vladimir Putin and India's Narendra Modi head straight for their host, Chinese President Xi Jinping. They form a huddle with their translators and exchange a few words, even a few laughs. For Xi, the optics are ideal as he seeks to assert himself as a world leader they can count on.
They tell quite a story, right? A show of force, a show of unity, which is what they want to portray, even potentially if those images may have been choreographed or improvised. Just talk us through what came out of the summit and what Xi Jinping's message critically was here.
Righty, so let's not downplay these images, the optics, because this symbolism tells a much broader story about China trying to appeal to the rest of the world as China really tries to establish itself as the leader of a new world order. So I think it's very safe to say that Beijing sees these images that we have been broadcasting as a very high point of the summit, in addition to some of the politics and the economics that were discussed. I mean, China, without question, is using the summit as an opportunity to portray itself as this alternative to the West, to these traditional alliances like NATO, and as the leader of a new world order, as a nation that is strong, that is stable, and that is predictable and not necessarily full of surprises, as many nations have seen in dealing with the United States.
We should uphold fairness and justice. We must promote a correct historical perspective on World War II and oppose the Cold War mentality. We should block confrontation and bullying practices.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization can become the guiding light for multilateralism and an inclusive world order.
If you belong to a country that carries any weight in the world, then it doesn't matter which capital do you live in. It can be Washington, can be Beijing, definitely it can be New Delhi, most certainly for us and most importantly for us. It can be Moscow, London, Brussels, anywhere. Geopolitics, you will find, is like a T20 game now because asking rate and odds are changing every ball, not just every over, every ball, because big heads of state are meeting, they are speaking, and it looks like very often they are shifting the goalposts. Sometimes friends are becoming adversaries, adversaries are becoming friends. It's all happening at a very fast pace.
It seems that Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving to Xi Jinping. And I think what we're seeing, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization really has been mainly a talk shop, but it's become symbolic of a world that sort of seems to be trying to make itself America-proof, both in terms of new trade arrangements, new security arrangements, and it's a wonderful vehicle for Xi to mobilize aggrievement against the United States power, and this has been very successful for him. How far it goes, I don't think there's a viable alternative. I think Donald Trump's vendetta against Modi in India is really shifting the geopolitics in a way that the U.S. Will not benefit from.
Let me ask you, too, about what we're hearing from some Western analysts. They're calling this emerging coalition led by China an axis of upheaval, referring to the growing alignment of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. How do you think India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, how does he feel about being associated with this group? Does he feel comfortable being a member of a group that's known as the axis of upheaval?
Look, we have to face the reality, that we have to deal with the reality that we face. We have an economic imperative, we have a security and political imperative, and not everything is aligned between India and China or some of the other nations that you just mentioned. We are a democracy, we have interests in common with the United States and Europe, but we also have economic interests in common with China and Russia. So we will work on the basis of those interests. And if we find a political difficulty in one relationship, we will obviously search for options in other relationships. Or if we find economic difficulties, then we'll search for other economic options. I think that's just the way the world works. I think the Trump tariffs the basis for the Trump tariffs saying that India supports the Russian war effort, I think that's completely unfounded and unreasonable, given that he's not imposed tariffs on the Chinese, who buy much more oil than India does from the Russians. So I think there is a degree of, international politicking, unfairness that goes on, but that's the stuff of international politics. And we simply have to deal with the reality that we are faced with.
镜头里，莫迪的笑声成了最具记忆点的片段，当中扼印三国领袖谈笑风生，宛如老友般自在寒暄时，不免令人好奇，远在白宫的川普此刻心中会是什么滋味？或许正如 CNN 主播所说，这些画面不排除是精心设计的表演，但它背后所隐藏的却是一场极为严肃的外交算计。对莫迪而言，他所代表的是拥有14亿人口的印度，国家利益才是他必须谨慎衡量的核心。他面临的外交挑战不简单，既要维系与美国的合作关系，又不能忽视与俄罗斯的军事与能源连结，同时要在中国面前保持存在感。这种微妙距离与平衡的拿捏，显然是新德里在全盘战略中的关键一环。值得补充的是， 西方媒体在解读上和组织大合照时刻意淡化印度角色，让印度舆论颇有微词。但事实上，回顾历史，上海合作组织是从1996年形成的上海5国演变而来。最初的成员国包括中国、俄罗斯、哈萨克、吉尔吉斯与塔吉克，印度直到2017年才正式成为会员。换言之，与其把这次视为莫迪7年来首度访中的重大突破，不如说只是一次常态性的峰会出席。然而，北京确实在细节上给足了印度面子。在会后发表的联合声明中，罕见纳入对同为上合组织成员的巴基斯坦攻击印度事件的谴责。这不仅为新德里带来了外交得分，也让莫迪得以在国内展现平衡外交的成果。这一笑之间，既是友谊的表演，也是国际政治现实的投射。
Shanghai Cooperation Organization came into being as Shanghai 5 in 1996. 1996 is when, this is 5 years after the end of the Cold War. And China and Russia both realized that this has become totally a unipolar world. America dominates everything. So this kind of a victory of the West, both countries are uneasy with. Putin's not there yet. Boris Yeltsin is there. China has Jiang Zemin. So 1996, they start talking about forming an organization of mainly Eurasian or Central Asian powers, that is Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. Subsequently, in the same year, they added Uzbekistan. So that became the founding group of SCO. Now, I know many questions have been raised about that family photo, a group photo of all the heads of states attending this SCO summit. And people have said, oh, Narendra Modi is made to stand as far apart from Xi Jinping, the host, as the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. So that shows that the hosts give Indian Prime Minister only as much importance as the Pakistani Prime Minister. That picture needs to be understood in the light of what I just told you. The order of standing and seating is very simple. In the middle is the host, and in fact, in the middle are the two founders of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that is China and Russia. Now, on either side, there are two of the original founders. So 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? So Russia and China in the middle, two original founders on one side, two original founders on the other side. Then others who joined later, that's India and Pakistan, both joined later between 2015 and 2017. 2015 at Ufa in Russia, they were admitted to Shanghai Cooperation Organization as full members. They had become observers in 2005. Now they became full members. The first SCO summit that India and Pakistan attended as full members was at Astana in Kazakhstan in 2017. That's the reason the two are standing, Shehbaz Sharif and Narendra Modi are standing like that. And then you have other members who joined in later. Iran in 2023, that was the summit that took place in India, although it was a virtual summit. Then Belarus in Astana in 2024. So Astana had a summit in 2017, also in 2024. That's when Belarus also came in. So this then makes the 10 members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and that's what the front row in that picture tells you. Then you have Afghanistan, Mongolia as observers, and then dialogue partners. And these partners then include Turkey, for example, a very important country for us. And you also saw that picture of Narendra Modi walking up and shaking hands with Erdogan and also giving him a pat on the back. It's always good diplomacy to try and make friends with the friend of an enemy.